Good afternoon and welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. I'm Gina and I am the host of this wonderful opportunity to find more joy in your day. So that's what we're here all about, is the joy is in the journey. It's not about when this happens, then I'll be happy. It's not, well, when I meet the right person, when I have the right job, when I have enough money, when I look like whatever. It's not about destination happiness. It's about happiness right here, right now. You cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy story. So choose today to be joyful. It is your birthright, after all. It is an unchangeable attribute of truth. And this is where we come together once a week to talk about how to delve into that a little more deeply, whether it's talking about what your passion may be or different opportunities to find more joy through different modalities or just the ministry in general. Talking about science of mind and new thought and how that comes out of us. And in some ways, that's what we're talking about today. I am so grateful to have this guest today. This is someone that I truly look up to and appreciate in so many ways. Today, our guest is Reverend Robert Brzezinski, and he is actually Rev Robert. Most of you on this network, anybody watching should know, is the person that actually created New Thought Media Network. It is why I get the opportunity to speak to you today. And the gift, the true gift to me is, I get to talk a little bit about how amazing he is behind the scenes, which you don't get to see because he's done so much, especially over the past year. But for those of you that don't know him, he's been a minister for almost 10 years now. He holds his master's in consciousness from the Holmes Institute. He considers himself a multi-passionate entrepreneur. His lifelong quest for truth led through various philosophies and communities, and he finds himself at a unique crossroads spiritually and a social experience. He is the founder of this New Thought Media Network and currently serves as its spiritual and creative director. He is passionate about exploring emerging experience of virtual community and personal development, and feels called to serve the evolution of human consciousness through various forms of entertainment, education, and community. He's never one to hide his authentic beliefs and approaches the experience of spiritual living with curiosity, reverence, and authenticity. And I can tell you that firsthand, and I love it. So I welcome Reverend Robert. Welcome to the show today. First time on The Joy is in the Journey, hopefully the first of many. So happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you. And it's so great to be here. It's fun when I get an invitation to be on a show from one of the hosts on the network, and it's like, well, yes, of course I'll be there. Where else would I be? But more importantly, it's so much fun to be in the experience of what this network really is all about. It's not about pushing buttons, and it's not about, making fancy videos, and I have all kinds of fun doing all of that stuff. But this is a chance for me to be in that place of saying, hey, folks, I love the joy is in the journey. I'm not going to steal your line here today.
Feel free, wherever you like.
But when we sat down to create this show, when you and I started to imagine and vision and get creative and say, what's this and you had the name, you had the title, and you brought it out right away. And it's like, absolutely, that speaks to what this network is all about. Sharing the journey, being joyful in the journey, being happy on the journey, being abundant on the journey and prosperous on the journey, and recognizing we're all on this journey together.
And it's not about next week, next month, eventually. It's about right here and right now, being present in the presence and celebrating life. Because if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. And I understand. I used to be in that world where there were times when I'm sorry, I can't do that. I got way too much on my plate to do. Way too many things that I've got to do. And throughout my journey, one of the things I have found is the relationships we have with each other are absolutely primary. The relationships we have with other human beings are absolutely primary. The furry ones that hang out in the background back there, that's secondary. But humans are absolutely primary. And I have learned that I think life works when I drop whatever it is I think I need to be doing to be in a connective relationship, in a collaborative, in a one-on-one or a group, anywhere people are gathered or connecting or sharing. If I'm being called, invited to be there, that's a lot more important about whether the invoices get out or whether a video gets created or whether a promotional piece gets approved or whether a letter gets written or this or that or the other thing.
It's about being present.
Yeah.
And nothing will pull you out of whatever it is you thought you had to do more than children. I know you have 2 children, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
They keep you present as much as possible.
Well, I think we have to change. I want to amend that. I don't have 2 children. Children were easy. I got 2 teenagers. That is something totally different. And I actually remember when I was in ministerial school, my kids were young and small, and they were children. And a couple of my colleagues had children at that time that were older and were in the teen and getting into the beginning of the teen years. Many of those kids are now graduated high school or into their first jobs or moving out of the homes and all that. And I remember telling my friends, take great notes. I'm going to need them.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what the notes they took wouldn't have done me any good.
No, everyone has their own path, and we do the best we can to be present in every aspect of it. And the difference is that when we are conscious in life, when we are mindful in life as a practice, it gives us the opportunity to be present and to act versus react. Because there's no planning for teenagers. And then you think that's fun. Wait till you have adult children. I have 4 grandchildren at this point. So there's even more, opportunities for adventure. It's
Exactly.
just always the evolution of, and that's what life is supposed to be. And the gift is, these are all blessings. We get to do it. It's not, there's times that everything and anything can feel like a task, but these are our blessings. It's just a matter, some days they feel it more than others. So we get the practices to remind us that, yes, I get to be here. I get to do this. Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, when any one of us realizes that, wow, this is the great gift, not only that I'm receiving, but that I get to give. Because when I'm in that place where I'm coming from authentic lived experience, before the show, you were sharing some things with me of your lived experience across your lifetime. And there's some pieces that are obviously present in your life, part of your community, your family, part of yours to heal and to work with and to experience. Mine is very, very different. And therefore, we're both going to have very, very different ministries in the world.
Absolutely.
And I also need to be straight up and fully honest with you. I've been slipping lately and calling you Rev Gina. So if you see a show or two out there, I know. And there is a tradition. There is a tradition in this movement. I realize that you have made it past that threshold where you now are officially Rev to be.
I'm a senior. For those of you that don't know, I'm on the final stretch of, which is very exciting at the Holmes Institute. And, there's so many, and I've been very involved in helping the reemergence of the Boston Center, where I was originally from Concordia in Rhode Island. Now I'm helping with Boston, and there's plans for more down the line. And there's a lot of excitement in all of that. And in this moment, it's all about doing the next right thing, being here and being guided and appreciating. And all of that unfolded in an amazing way. New Thought Media, for me, this network was part of that unfoldment, because I said, I was talking about what I felt called to do. And I had shared this with you in the beginning. I was talking about what I felt called to do, but I didn't want to. And I really felt like that. These things that were coming up, I'm like, but I don't want that. And one of my professors said, so what do you want? And I really prayed on that. What would you love, is what she said. What would you love? Now, I'm a life coach. I say that all the time. But somebody saying it to me made me really think. And I've been doing the Peace Circle for 8 years. I've been doing workshops and trainings, and I love all of this. And this is what I would love. And within a week of that conversation, I was having a conversation with you about this show and the Peace Circle. So miracles happen when we really are present to, well, what do I choose then? Because I can serve for Spirit's highest good in the vision, yes, but also what would I love? And there's always a way for the bridge to come together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. And I think this network is proof of that for you. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. What was your first call to ministry?
Yeah, this is one of those questions that it seems like every time it's asked of me, my answer changes. And now I can trace some of what I'm doing back long before I found ministry. And so the way I like to approach this question really is from my church history, which was nothing until about 2001. And what had happened is that in the fall of 2000, I was introduced to one of the most amazingly beautiful, captivating women I have ever known in my life. And gracefully, a handful of years later, she agreed to be my wife and continues to agree to be my wife. And in that, we started a search for a shared tradition, a shared spiritual tradition. I came from the Church of God, and the Church of God meant the great outdoors. Period. Simple. No better way to get closer to God on a Sunday morning than at the top of a mountain somewhere in Utah or Colorado or wherever I was in my life. And along comes this captivating woman and this desire to search for something we can share that eventually leads to pretty much a whole bunch of dead ends. And a life coach, who's now also a minister in this movement, shares with my wife a book. It's a big white book with lots of red letters on it. It says Science of Mind. I come home on a Friday night. My wife's out working, doing a gig for the restaurant. And there's this big book I start reading. I get 4 chapters in, and it's just life-changing. That's the impetus that says, there's something here that's bigger than you've ever imagined. And so the exploration begins. And I've told this story numerous times, that dove right into a foundational class, a 15-week class commitment to learn more about the philosophy in the church. At the time, it was the Church of Religious Science in Salt Lake City, Utah. My wife asked me, why do you want to take the class? Simple, 15 weeks. If this is a cult, we'll figure it out. We're getting out as quick as we can. But if it's not, and this is real, then this might be something. Give it a few months or a few classes, or maybe it was only a few weeks. And a practitioner's on stage sharing a prayer before a message, who also now is a minister. Actually, your dean at home of not Florida, anyway. And I hear this voice that says, you can do that. Oh, and I heard, you're going to do that. But in this movement, what better way class to class to class leads to practitioner training and a little deeper. And I realized, hey, even if I don't do this professionally, wow, I can do this just for myself. How powerful would that be? And it was somewhere during practitioner training that the call came through loud and clear. And I'll tell you, Gina, I have counseled many people that get to that point and say, should I or shouldn't I? And the funny part is, I was very committed early on that, yes, I want to do that. And then I graduated practitioner training and suddenly said, no, maybe not. I don't know. And I sort of resisted it all because it felt like it was way too big for me. Now, there's a theme here that we're going to revisit a little bit later after I have said yes to this next journey to ministerial school. But it felt like this is too big and I'm not there yet. And so I purposefully started to slow down and do things differently. And a couple of very good dear friends of mine continued on to ministerial school and continued down that track that I thought I was on. And then the day came where the pain of not moving forward, of not growing, of not having a class in front of me, of not having something to learn became too great. And turned and asked my wife, who was 7 months pregnant with our second child, can we move to Colorado? I want to go to ministerial school. And, bless her heart, she says yes. So there was never a defining moment. There was never you are going to be a minister. You are here to do this. And I'll tell you, even now, 10 years in, there has never been a defining moment where the clouds parted and the thunder and lightning came crashing down and that voice said, this, do go be this, boom, 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 boom. Ministry is a revelation. And I believe it's a revelation of our lived experiences. And as we live more experience and as we're willing to show up authentically in service to humanity, in service to ourselves and our family and our furry creatures and all the stuff coming our way, the more we show up authentically, the more we have authentic experiences. We grow that lived experience base, and now we can support more people around the planet in coming to their own awakening of their own personal ministry and what their lived experience can do to support and teach others. I imagine that probably muddied the water a little bit for some, and for some it probably provided some clarity.
There is no one way. I think that that's the beauty of it. In everything that we do, there is no one way. You know when you know, and it's different for everyone. You were guided to the next right step and you took it. And when you didn't want to take it, you felt like something was missing. But when you took it, you knew. So you knew, and it was just a matter of when you got there. And we always have choice. There's plenty of things that happen to us all, that whether it's ministerial school or whether it's a job or whether it's a relationship, we all know when we're called to something and either taking action or not. And it really gets to the point, is it going to be, am I going to stay here? Eventually the pain of not moving usually is what pushes us along. It's the pull of spirit, which is beautiful, which is what this month's theme is in general with CSL, is that pull of spirit. And that's beautiful. And it looks different for everyone. I mean, for me, I had no intention of any of this. I never knew anything about but again, I took foundations and I was hooked. I was all in. That was it. And one class led to another, which led to Prac 1. And basically I had a hiatus about 6 years, and I had to take Prac 1 again, and I didn't want to. I'm like, nope. And I said no. And when it was time, it wasn't even a question that, well, yeah. And I did. But again, and it was not even a question. I'm like, okay. And everyone has, and then I, again, never intended for ministerial school. Never. I mean, never wanted to go back to college in any way. Yet here I am, and it's not, there's no wrong or there's no right. It's just the minute that I said yes and started classes, there was a nagging in me that I felt my whole life that felt like I should already be there. Should have, would have, could have already been there. There was this underlying something that was always there that wasn't there anymore as soon as I said yes to the call. And I didn't even notice that that's when it went away until 6 months after I said, it's not here. Like, finally, I'm okay where I am, and it's enough. And I think that same feeling happens when we find our passion, when we find our purpose, and when we're living our life of joy. And joy is not the same as happiness.
Right.
And, and contentment is not the same as joy and happiness. All of those things sound very similar. Happiness, you can buy something that can make you happy, but it's not going to last. And joy, is one of those, it's inherent, it's divine. It's always there, whether you're experiencing it or not. And contentment is all of that. It's being, really peaceful and at peace and enjoy where I am with where I am.
Yeah. I like to look at joy as being that state of, to not use the word in its definition, right? So the state of like bliss, of there's nowhere else I would want to be. Not just rather be or could be, but there's nowhere else I would want to be, because everything right here is so rich in my awareness of the oneness of it. That I get it. I get how this and this are connected. Now, I don't always see that, right? And that's where the practices of New Thought, of science of mind philosophy come in. All of our practices are designed, I believe at this point, my belief that all of the practices are designed to support us in coming to a deeper state of listening, so we can hear the calling and then be guided to the inspired action that fulfills the calling. And as long as we just be in that, joy is a great natural byproduct, I believe.
And when we're doing what we love, that comes. And that doesn't mean it's what you necessarily do for a living. I've known people that their passion was working with horses, and they couldn't afford one. So they thought that was over. And I said, well, volunteer at a stable one day a week. Help clean it up, which you would have to do if you owned a horse anyway. You help take care of one. It's free, and they let you ride it. So, I mean, there's ways to do anything when you're mindful and present to it. What does that look like? What does that feel like? You'll know when you get there. It's not there's no destination, and that's the gift of it. It's not a one-time thing. It's, it's an experience, and it's not, sometimes we get caught up in the doing. We were talking before about the beingness of life and being right where you are. And letting yourself just be. We're human beings, not human doings. And we're supposed to be more than do. But we're in a society that's bigger, better, faster, more. And if you're not doing, then you're doing something wrong. And that's not what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's about the being. You used the word in there, destination, that I've got to jump back to, because long before I found Science of Mind, there's an old phrase, and for many years, I would pontificate at great length at parties and anyone that would listen, that the greatest wisdoms of history were all written on the back of a T-shirt. And at that point, probably early 90s, mid 90s, somewhere like that, if it couldn't fit on the back of a T-shirt, well, it just wasn't wisdom enough. Boil it down. Let's get down to the point where. And one of the greatest T-shirts, and I still have it, I've wrapped it in plastic and hidden it away. And the back of the T-shirt just said simply, "The journey is the destination."
Yes.
There's nowhere to get to. It's the journey that gets, and wherever that's going to lead.
we will never be right here again. There's so many times, when you're growing up, people always say, appreciate where you are. It flies, the years fly by, and to be your age again, and you're there and you're thinking, yeah, whatever, because you're trying to get the house, or you're trying to get the career, or you're trying, as opposed to just the being where you are and living in the gift of the moment. And sometimes that's easy and sometimes it is not. What we were talking about before this is tomorrow's a year my mom transitioned. So in the middle of COVID, when we couldn't have a funeral, I'm in Rhode Island, and she was in Massachusetts. So it made it all that much more difficult, because technically we weren't supposed to even cross the state lines, and I'm cleaning out her house. There was so much that went into that, and the emotions are real. So sometimes being here now is not joy filled. And at the same time, it is allowing the wave of grief, or whatever the emotion is, to flow through so that it can be joyful again. Because what we forget is, yes, we may miss something that we no longer have, but number one, we got so much out of it. And number two, there is no vacuum in spirit, and it is all good. So when one steps out, something else has to fill that. I have 4 grandchildren. Everybody that I've loved cannot be here at the same time on this planet. It's just the way that it works. So I have gifts. I can look at the gifts, or I can look at what I don't no longer have in this form. And, I know she's happier where she is, without a doubt in my mind. She was on oxygen. She had all kinds of medical stuff. And it's being in the truth of, that doesn't matter. I still miss her. And that's okay. It's not spiritual bypass. It is so important. It's easy to look at a topic like the joy is in the journey and think that I would just say, oh, it's all great. It's not. But I know how great it is because of the valleys, not because of the peaks. It's what you appreciate and that makes you joyful, not what you have. It's what you recognize and appreciate. That's what the happiness is wanting what you have. So
this is so rich, because it's a much, much deeper part of this spiritual philosophy that is science of mind than I think many people ever teach or understand.
Yes.
Because it is easy to do the, okay, I'm healed, and push the suffering aside. And what I know is, when we plumb the depths of that suffering, what you will find is the joy. When you plumb the depths of the doubt, what you will find is the assurance. When you plumb the depths of despair, what you will find is the inspiration. Because the nature of the divine is inspiration, is all is the joy, and is the happiness. And if this is, again, another great lived demonstration of this philosophy, to be able to say, this sucks, and royally, and I've got a little room down there where I'm going to go and scream and yell and moan and whatever.
Just cry when you need to.
Exactly. And even when it arises in the moment, right, to be fully present. To here, I'm going to come back to a premise I made earlier, to listen deeply enough to hear the call of spirit inspiring us to move in the direction of our greatness. Wow. And like every spiritual practice comes back to that.
Pain happens. It's not a question. Everybody experiences pain of different types. Suffering is when we choose consciously or unconsciously to stay there. And we get stuck in it when we bypass it. We get stuck in it when there's anger, resentment, unresolved anything. When I'm not paying attention to it and saying, oh, it's all great, or saying, no, it never happened. So either way, it's being where I am, allowing it to be, whether that in that moment it may be painful, we walk through. And we're supposed to need each other. That's the other thing that it took me years to understand, that being vulnerable is a gift. It's a strength, not a weakness. I don't like that humanness. I don't like that part of it. But it's so important. I need to allow others to help me in the same way that I help them.
Right. Yes. Yes.
That's
Otherwise,
that's part of the ebb and flow.
right. Otherwise, I'm just giving, 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 and I'll loose a couple of little secrets here, Gina. The quote life expectancy of a minister in a New Thought philosophy, less than 5 years. The average minister has given up ministry within 5 years. Now, I do want everybody to remember that 85% of statistics are made up on the spot simply to prove the point of the person that's speaking, including the one I just made up and the one before that. But I think you get the point.
Yes.
This has a ministry is perceived as a tough career choice, and I believe part of it is because so many ministers get into that piece of give, 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 give. No, I'm good. Give, give, give. No, it's all good. I'm all right. Give, give, give. Hey, everything's fine. Give, give, give. Burnout, blow up, sex behind the pulpit with somebody you shouldn't be. Right. And we hear all the
something
horror
major,
stories of how somebody falls off of their own values and their own ethics because of the pressure of trying to be perfect 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I think for me, I think part of it is there's been a lifelong of giving in that way. I was the caretaker. I was the one that, everybody, depended and leaned on. I was saying in my family, we've had about 50, literally just immediate mother, father, sister, and myself, 15 bouts of cancer. Easy. And, when you think of just just 4 people, that's crazy. And at the same time, I also know that because of all of that, that's how I ended up with it. That's how I ended up with over a dozen tumors in my kidneys, was because I didn't ask for help. I didn't realize that I had limitations. I didn't put myself first ever. And as a result of doing my work, now I know enough to know what it's okay to say no.
Right.
It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. It's all good. And it all makes us stronger, even though it seems weaker. The irony is, it is not easy to be exactly where you are and authentically saying that to someone. But there's someone that needed to hear it today. There's someone that will hear this message and think, I shared it recently, and the minute that I said what I did about my mom, I had someone in tears because they were missing their mom in the same way. We're all human, and we need each other, and we need to allow ourselves to be in our humanness, because the spirit within us then gets the chance to shine. That's where we go to the depths and we turn to spirit. A friend of mine going through Prac 1 used to say, ouch, and turn to God. Ouch, and turn to God. Like you go to your parent. Like when you skin your knee and you go to your parent. Ouch. So those reminders are a wonderful time for the beloved to go to the beloved.
Yes, exactly. And you strike on something else in there that I think is incredibly important. No is a complete sentence. And in many cases, it's a very healthy sentence. Now, I look at my ministry over the last close to whatever it is now. I graduated my practitioner training in 2002, 2003, somewhere. So I spent a lot of time in that place thinking there was one right way to be a successful minister. And that if I could figure out that formula, and then I just mold myself to match that formula. And along the way, I said yes to things that I shouldn't have. And the truth is, and while I was able to walk away from some of those fairly unscathed, others didn't. others were emotionally hurt. Others were let down. Others questioned the organization, the philosophy, and their own faith because of these experiences that I can see the benefit, and I can see where I grew, and I can see how that was good for me and how that was good for my ministry. But there are generally going to be people that maybe don't, and still feel hurt from group experiences or even witnessing an individual. So no becomes important when we see a red flag and can choose to move forward. That was an important no. There are times when I believe it's, again, coming back to that trusting and the listening and the deep recognition that wherever I am is exactly where I'm supposed to be to do the most good. There is nowhere else I should, could, or must be than in whatever situation, whatever conversation, whatever community. Now, I know I've done it as a minister, so I know that there's others that have done this in their life somewhere, where we put on the suit and the tie or the monkey suit or the fancy dress, and we tell people what they want to hear to get the job. And I'm going to encourage everyone, the next time you find yourself in that position, remember that no is a complete sentence, and often a very, very healthy one. If you're everything saying no, then there's never a good enough reason to go against a sacred no.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Now I'm going to pull us out of that because we ended up veering in a wonderful direction. And I want to talk about the network. I want to make sure that as time's flying by,
Amen.
It's been just over a year, correct? What was the date that you began?
So we had the great opportunity to talk about these questions beforehand. So I'm going to jump ahead a question and jump back a question and answer them at the same time. It's been just over 2 years since we started the radio station.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the radio station for a quick moment, and then we'll come into the whole network. The radio station really happened as me being very discontent in what appeared to be the lack of ministerial options for me in my quote ministerial career. I'm not going to tell the whole story. I went through an experience with a community in 2015, 2016 that was difficult. And you've heard a little bit of it here in today's conversation. And so it was taking me some time to kind of really get back into it. By 2019, I was very discontent in my non-growth, in my non-participation, in the fact that I was just hanging around the fringes and truthfully driving Uber. And I had this wild idea one night about, man, I've thought of an internet radio station several times. And I've watched other individuals and spiritual communities launch internet radio stations and fail. And there were those immediate questions. Well, what makes you think, I had a million doubts. But I finally, and something sent me trolling the internet late at night. I found a company that had revived itself, was doing things a little differently, a little more in alignment with what I believe organizationally, profit motive wise, all those things. And we relaunched New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all your favorite New Thought artists, and then some. And that was great. It wasn't making any money. It wasn't really a ministry. It was just my kind of, hey, this is fun. And I'm sharing New Thought. And it kept growing. And in that, my very first teacher, still a dear, 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 great friend, Reverend Donald Graves, challenged me to a 30-day visioning challenge. And he said, I want you to do 30 days. No skipping, no excuses. I don't care. I don't care if it happens at 11:30 at night and you're dead tired. You do a visioning every day for 30 days and then you call me back. Okay, now he knows I love the process. He taught me the process of visioning. And so I did. And in those 30 days, what began to emerge is New Thought Media Network. It's not my ministry. It is a 501c3, nonprofit organization, so it is an affiliated ministry with the Centers for Spiritual Living. I am a Center for Spiritual Living minister ordained. You're in the program. 90%, again, statistics made up on the spot, 90% of our hosts are Centers for Spiritual Living ministers or practitioners. Some of our folks come from other traditions. Agape, we have an Agape licensed minister with us. We've got some Unity folks with us, some people that are a little more on the Course in Miracles side, some folks that are a little more on the Divine Science side. We're this playground where creators can come together, share resources, inspiration, and access to create, well, a global broadcast network of positive music, inspiration, and entertainment. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of it so far. I was sharing with you before, 2020 was about proving it's possible and getting our legs underneath us and getting our feet underneath us. And now what we're seeing here in 2021, now I'm calling this the year everything comes together. What we've seen in the first half of 2021 is the organization is going through a very natural phase of learning how to work together and play together and be together.
We actually just met each other. We finally got together for mastermind groups, which was wonderful. A lot of our hosts have not even gotten a chance because we're all over the world.
The last one we did was about 8 months ago, I think. And yeah, you're right. And there were a bunch of people that have come on board that hadn't connected before. In the coming 6 months, what we're focusing on is systems and process development. How to make sure things get done and that they don't bottleneck around this guy or any of us. How things don't bottleneck around because you have various places you're playing on the network. And I think Laura Topper, and she's got a whole bunch of different, I think she's doing more work than I am on the network. And together, we're creating what I believe is a evolutionary, revelatory form of ministry that is big enough and large enough for creators of all new thought philosophies to come together and share. And we're creating a ministry of ministers. And there's a big enough, wide enough, wonderful, joyous enough group of people out there that I believe are incredibly hungry for this philosophy. And beyond that, there's an even bigger pool that don't even know we exist yet.
We get to spread the good news. And I always encourage people, especially, when morning prayer, evening prayer, I always encourage people to let people know we're here because there is good news out there. We are here at this network for that reason. We're here to spread the good news instead of the stuff or the muck or anything else. It's that empowerment. It's there is light, and it's right here on this network. So I want to thank you for that because you were the visionary for it, and you have done so much morning till night. People have no idea how much work you have done to put this here. You make it look easy, and I, really just receive the compliment because there are many of us that you help as a result of this being here. So I thank you for that. And we're doing all we can to get you some help so that it's not just you anymore. It's too much. And I thank your family for the sacrifice that they've given as well. Because you just jumped, the actual network went live when?
Really, I look at it as March 18th was the very first prayer broadcast. And March 18th,
2020, right?
Of 2020. And that was the first time we started a prayer broadcast. Now, I didn't actually have the name or the logo on March 18th. There were still options. It was still up in the air, but it was coming through in the visioning. And so March 18th, I logged in, played with some new software with StreamYard here for the first time, went live on Facebook and basically said, folks, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pray, and I'm going to pray morning and evening. And we're going to pray until this pandemic is over or done, or until God tells us not to pray, until the divine says no more prayer, which I don't think I'll ever hear that. And then within May, I think it was May, was the first episode of Ministers Talking Shit. That was our very first show, Beyond Prayer Time. It's Reverend Elzia and I on Friday mornings at 7 a.m. And we just have a great time. And we don't give each other shit. We just talk about whatever we want to talk about. But that caught on, and people started to chuckle. All of our ministerial colleagues would laugh and chuckle when they heard that. And I can't tell you how many times I had a minister say, man, I wish I could get away with that. It's like, yeah, I understand. Some of us still buy into the old paradigms. We're here to push those paradigms, to be more authentic in what we do, to be truthful in what we do. And not that those guys aren't true. Everybody else is
There's no wrong. It's also, your audience, you are who you are. And, when you're in a pulpit, you know your community. And the truth is, you want to say things. It is the job of a minister to say things in a way that people will hear them. So it's not that you're not being authentic unless you feel like a fraud doing it, but you're saying things in a way that it'll be received to the best of its ear ability. And that's what we're here to do. And that's why there's so many different types of shows on the network. It's not for everyone. Each one has a different feel to it. Every host is different. And thank you for bringing us all together. For those of you that are out there, this is a volunteer basis. You started this, giving of yourself, of your time, of your everything, with nothing in return except more and more headaches. So you've given so much of yourself and your family. I mean, I know Laura, actually, she's one of the practitioners on morning and evening prayers, and she's also on the ministries and doing, and there's so much that your family has sacrificed for this. So thank you for the vision and the calling that you had. And, I really appreciate that, because it is an authentic way for people to get, you've allowed us that gift without, there's a lot of networks that would charge their hosts, that they would that there would be all kinds of different things and different, and you require commitment and authenticity. That's all that you've, and I thank you for that. I cannot tell you enough, and at this time we have so much talent, and we need the behind the scenes people. So before time runs out, that's what I definitely want to talk about, is all those of you, there's ways to, time, talents, and treasures. That's what tithing's all about. And when we give times, talent, and treasures, we are in the flow. We often at the end we'll say, you can go to ntmedia.org and click donate. If you've been given, you can circulate back to us. And that, we mean that by all means. If you have the ability, monthly, give to us, donate, whatever you can give. It is greatly appreciated, because it allows us to give to others. So important. And if you have time, if you have talents, or you're willing to learn, there's a lot of things behind the scene that we could really use help with. And I want to put that shout out now and give you the opportunity. Tell us what we need, because that's be bold in this perfect world that it is, speaking into the ether that is, knowing that there is no void, and the law will bring it back. What are we declaring?
We want joyous people. We want joyous people that want to create more joy on the world, that want to support those that are creating more joy and more love and more of all of this philosophy, and helping to share that out in the world. Now, that looks like people that are good in the office and good at management and creating systems. That looks like people that want to learn how to produce shows and make Gina look good, so she doesn't have to push the buttons, and sit in the background and push the buttons. And we're looking for people that want to create video and share their creative skills through video or marketing images or promotional images. There is really no limit to the ways that people can give to this ministry beyond
advertising. If you're good at social media, whatever it is that you might be good at, or if you've got some time. WordPress, exactly. What are you interested in learning how to do? because there's so many different opportunities that are there. If you have the time, I want to make sure that people reach out. ntmedia.org is, a great way that you can get to that place of information, right?
Yep. Exactly. ntmedia.org is a good launching off point, and you can reach out to us directly. Use the email info@ntmedia.org. We'll get directly to my office and to my desk. If you're more of a Facebook person, catch us on Facebook. That's a great place to interact with us. And our Facebook group, just do a search, New Thought Media Network. It'll get you there. Same thing on YouTube. Just do a search, New Thought Media Network, hashtag New Thought Media Network. The YouTube is also a great place where we're looking for talented volunteers that would like to help us grow our subscriber base and our exposure on YouTube specifically. So that's somewhere that if you're talented and you're interested, again, any talent, if you're interested, we'll find a way to let you share, let you be a part of this. And if you're saying, no, I really want to be out in front of the camera, like Gina, then don't hesitate. You can reach out. Might just be a little longer of a process to get your show on the air because we're looking for teams to come in and work. We're really creating a whole new concept in organizations. And we don't have time to talk about that today. So why don't I come back in a handful of weeks and we'll talk about that aspect.
Absolutely. And I also want to just put out there, we have a prayer team. We have a prayer ministry here as well that, prayer@ntmedia.org. If there's something that you've been needing or something that's in your life that you feel is that hasn't come through yet, let us pray with you. Again, morning prayers, it's 8:15 a.m. p.m. Central Time Zone, 10:15 a.m. p.m. my time zone on the East Coast. But wherever you are, we pray twice a day, but also prayer@ntmedia.org. Send us your prayer request, and we are all praying for you. Or if you want to be a part of that as well, send us that. As remember, this is how to get directly in touch with Rev Robert. You can let us know if you want to be, if you're a practitioner, if you're a minister, if you want to be part of that prayer team. That's definitely there as well. Maybe you want to do the morning or the evening prayers once a week. That would be wonderful. So it's just, we are a team, and we all give what we can when we can. And I think that that's what life is truly all about, is being in that place of being in the flow of it and allowing it to come through. So if you felt a calling as you were listening to all of this, please make sure you reach out to us.
Yes.
And I have one question I love. In the bottom of your email, you say, you are a spiritual entrepreneur. Define that one for me, please.
Yes. Marie Forleo, business coach, very aligned with the New Thought philosophy, coined the term multi-passionate entrepreneur, which I associate with very well as much. And what I realized is, if there's a spiritual component to an opportunity, and especially an entrepreneurial opportunity, I love being a part of it. And so I look to not only find unique and creative and perhaps unexplored avenues of ministry, and I love supporting those that are doing the same. But I believe by its very nature, ministry itself is an entrepreneurial effort. It's an entrepreneurial effort that requires a lot of caring of people, for people, and with people, and of people. It requires a lot of skills and a lot of talent. And along the way, I think the quickest way to burnout is to become too focused on just one avenue, but to have multiple outlets for the creativity, for the love, for the everything that God is as your life, for the joy that is your life, and that we hope you're sharing with that we trust you're sharing with life.
Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. It is truly a gift to have this time with you. And, I hope people realize how much you give every day. When you finally plan a couple of days away, it takes you weeks to prepare for it, getting everything in line. And, thank you. Thank you to your family for the sacrifice. Thank you for all that you do. And I'm grateful that you're doing it. And, I'm looking forward to many people helping so that you don't have, it all doesn't just land on your shoulders anymore. There is truly a team here. And that's wonderful to be a part of as well. You're dealing with all, like-minded individuals that are just everyone that I've come across on this network has been so kind, so genuinely loving and honest and sincere. So, there's a passion here. There's a love on this network that is palpable, and that starts at the top. So thank you for that. I thank you for that. And I know that you're off to your next meeting. So I thank you for being here today. Thank you so much. And I look forward to you coming on, telling us more, because there's no more coming on. I know about the radio station. There's more happening. There's so much more going on. And we'll talk a lot more about programming too next time. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, and blessings and love.
Thank you. Love you. Until next time.
Absolutely.
Well, you and I will talk again soon.
Yes.
Everybody else that's out there that watching, next time, we'll see you soon.
So I thank everyone for being here. I thank you all for, taking part in the joy in the journey, being mindful and present to what your call, what your heart may be telling you. It looks different for every person, and there is no wrong. So please remember, take the time to know you're doing the next right thing. Just be at times. Just be still and know. And one of the things that I love was he visioned for 30 days to get that next step. And that is a wonderful tool. Let spirit guide, and you cannot go wrong. So please remember that I am also here on Monday evenings with the Peace Circle. Monday evenings at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we come together through music, message, and meditation. It gives you the opportunity to be the change you wish to see in the world. Because who wouldn't want more peace, right? Who wouldn't want personal peace and to make this world a better place? And that's what we come together to do on Monday evenings. So I do hope you'll join us for that. And I am so grateful for your time, grateful to Reverend Robert and this network, and to you for being here. So truly remember that the joy is in the journey, that there is no wrong, that life is meant to be joyful. You have your moments, and we all do, and it's okay, but they pass. Allow them to. Just be authentically yourself, and know that Spirit has you. Spirit loves you. I love you. And I am grateful that you're here. So I'm going to let you know a little bit more about, we're going to place some of the other shows and advertisements of what's coming up. Know that we need your help, and we are looking for people just like you. So please join us, join our team. Blessings and love to you. Have a beautiful day.